Hello and welcome to The Talk, hosted by me, Marc Tabales. Today we're going to be talking about the Las Vegas shooting, very sensitive topic. We're not going to waste much time. Let's get right into it. With my co-host today, Tanner Coon. So, what were your initial thoughts? How did you kind of wake up to this event? Obviously the deadliest shooting in American history.
Yeah, I literally did wake up to the news since it happened at night. I woke up and checked my phone, and I saw that 50 people at the time had been killed, and it was pretty sad. I think I was blindsided by it. I wasn't expecting to see that. Yeah, it was just very sad that it happened, and I probably should have anticipated it, but I just didn't. So it's just very sad to see something like this.
Now, one of the bigger things was that, like you were saying, this was completely unplanned. Well, not unplanned, but nobody saw it coming. And for a person with no military training, as we found out, he has no military training to, well, first of all, acquire this many weapons, and then to go down as the deadliest shooter in history, in American history, sorry. What are your thoughts on that, seeing as he had no military background, he just acquired these weapons?
That he was just a fan of guns, basically. I think the amount of guns that he had in his room was very weird to see, that he had something like 20 or so guns, half of his collection in his room, it seems like. It's just very sad to see somebody that's just a person just snap like that and do something horrible.
Right. Now, talking about the guns, I wanted to get your opinion on this because, as you know, automatic rifles in the U.S. are legal. However, they found attachments on them, on semi-automatic rifles, so that the fire rate would be closer to an automatic rifle. I don't know if you know this. This just came out recently with the police investigation.
It was a semi-automatic weapon with a automatic attachment, is
With
what you're saying?
I don't know exactly how they call it, but it was basically a stock that lets it fire closer to an automatic rate.
I think that's, I don't know, I think that's rather, I'm not entirely sure what to think about that. The man obviously liked his guns, as most Americans do. I read something that Americans have more guns than any country in the world, which is insane to me. Like, there's just the fact that that fact exists. That's crazy.
Now switching over, obviously he had this many guns, but as far as we can tell, all his guns were fine. They were registered. They were part of a collection. Now this goes on to a big argument that's been happening ever since the shooting came out about gun laws. Does a person really need? I think he had 47 or 49 in his overall collection. Like you said, he had over 20 in his home, in his hotel room, and that was half his collection. Do you think anybody really needs, even if you're an enthusiast, do you really need that many?
It's not really a question of need. I know that the Second Amendment protects people's right to own guns, and you can own as many as you want. It's what you do with them that really matters. And I think responsible gun ownership is important if you're going to be a gun owner. I'm not against the Second Amendment, though I'm not a fan of civilians owning automatic weapons because you don't really need them, like, for anything. But again, it's like legally, it's not really a question of if you need them, which is the legal field is really weird with that, where it's like, it's not really a question of what the people need, it's what do they have the right to.
Okay, so you think it's not more that they need the weapons. It's just as long as they have the right to them, they can acquire. I mean, it is their right So legally, they can't acquire as many within the law, as they want.
Yeah, I don't, I don't like automatic weapons personally. I would not own one, and I never will own one. And I don't think that civilians need them, especially military-grade weapons. And I'm not really talking about the whole assault rifle debate. I'm just saying that I don't think that civilians need military-grade weaponry for anything, because a simple shotgun or a handgun will suffice for self-defense in your own home or something like that.
Okay, now switching over, let's talk a little bit about the shooter. We know he was 64 years old at the time of the shooting. We also know that he was actually quite wealthy. He was a reoccurring gambler. He liked to go down to Vegas and gamble a lot.
And guns are very expensive. They're a very expensive hobby.
Guns are very expensive hobby, especially to maintain them and to have a huge collection like he did. So the question really comes in, was this so out of the blue? Did no one pick up on this at all? I mean, it just seems weird for one day to somebody to snap without any signs.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation as to why he did it, and I don't know if we'll ever get an answer. There was one article that I read that said he had a lot of debt, which could have stressed this event, unfortunately. He also could have just had tendencies and nobody noticed, but there's a lot, it's all speculation. That's the problem, is why this event is so strange to a lot of people.
Now, going over, there was a big thing about the Las Vegas PD. At the time, it was very hard for them to coordinate anything that was happening. There has been a few judgments on their call. Personally, I think they did the best they could in that situation. But it did take them almost an hour to breach the hotel room.
Well, didn't SWAT, I'm pretty sure that SWAT breached the hotel room. And I don't really blame LAPD for not wanting to breach the hotel room, because you don't know how many shooters there are when this is happening. You just know that there is an automatic weapon being fired off. So I think that they did a great job at, making sure that people on the ground were as safe as they could be. You know what I mean? And evacuating people was very important. So I think that the police handled it very well. From what I read, I obviously wasn't there, so from what I read in the articles, I think that they did a good job.
Now, switching over from the actual shooting, which we already know, of course, so many people died and got injured, and that was very unfortunate. But how do you think the country afterward is handling this, the aftermath of it all? I mean, I've heard of a lot of huge trauma centers opening up. The whole auditorium is filling up with people because of this. The president released a statement. Flags are being flown at half staff.
A few artists that were going to play in Las Vegas canceled their shows out of respect, which I think that the country is handling it as expected. I think there's a divide in the country with what we should do, and I think that it's taking its natural course. I don't think there's anything really out of the ordinary that's like blindsiding me or anything like that.
Okay. And regards to, this has been also an argument, putting the shooter's name out there. A lot of people think that shouldn't have been done, that it kind of gives them that popularity that they wanted.
I think the name is fine. I think maybe not showing their picture would be better, although I have not seen many pictures of the shooter. I only saw his name once. I don't even remember what it was, so that could just be me not doing my own research on this or something like that, but I think that it might be a good idea to not name them in the future, or at least not show their picture if you want to name them.
Okay. Well, I think that's all we have time for. Yeah. Again, thank you for sitting in here on the talk, and our hearts go out to the families of this devastating shooting, the deadliest in American history. This is Marc Tabales signing off, and we hope to see you guys next time.